For decades, Mars has been the destination everyone talks about, but no one actually goes to. Now, for the first time, that might finally change. SpaceX says Starship is heading to Mars in 2026, and this isn't just another bold promise. The hardware is real, the timeline is real, and the consequences, if it works, will be historic. For a long time, the idea of humans going to Mars lived in the same category as flying cars and moon hotels. Fun to imagine, impossible to execute. When SpaceX first revealed Starship, critics didn't just doubt it, they laughed. A stainless steel rocket taller than a skyscraper, fully reusable, designed to land on another planet. Most people were convinced it would never leave the ground. Then it did. Not only did Starship launch, it survived extreme flight tests, re-entries, controlled descents, and precision landings that would have destroyed any traditional rocket. Each test looked chaotic on the surface, but behind the explosions was rapid learning. And now, after years of iteration, SpaceX is aiming higher than ever before. Mars 2026. That date alone shocked the aerospace world. Until recently, even optimistic analysts assumed SpaceX wouldn't attempt a Mars mission until 2028 or 2029 at the earliest. But suddenly, SpaceX made it clear. They are targeting the 2026 Mars transfer window. Not humans yet, but Starship itself. And that distinction matters. This mission is about proving something fundamental, that Starship isn't just a big rocket for Earth orbit or lunar missions, but a true interplanetary spacecraft. If it succeeds, it changes the rules of spaceflight permanently. The vehicle planned for this mission is a far cry from the early prototypes that hopped a few kilometers above Texas. This is a mature version of the system, often referred to as Starship V3 or Starship Block 2. Sometimes nicknamed Starship 53, based on internal design cycles. It's taller, stronger, and built for endurance. Stacked on top of the Super Heavy booster, the full system stands roughly 120 meters tall. At liftoff, the booster fires 33 Raptor engines, producing over 7,500 tons of thrust. That makes Starship the most powerful rocket ever built. More powerful than Saturn V, more powerful than NASA's Space Launch System, and in a completely different class from anything else flying today. But raw power isn't the point. The real revolution is reuse. Starship itself is about 50 meters tall and 9 meters wide, designed to carry massive payloads. In low Earth orbit, SpaceX expects it to eventually deliver more than 100 metric tons in a fully reusable configuration. For Mars missions, that number drops, but not by much. Depending on how efficient orbital refueling becomes, a Mars-bound Starship could still land between 50 and 100 tons of cargo on the Martian surface. That number is almost hard to comprehend. Every Mars rover NASA has ever landed combined wouldn't equal a fraction of that mass. This isn't about sending a robot with a camera. This is about sending entire infrastructure, power systems, habitats, fuel plants, rovers, and supplies, all in one mission. And timing is everything. Earth and Mars only align properly once every 26 months. These alignments, known as transfer windows, are the only times it makes sense to attempt a Mars journey. Miss the window, and you wait more than 2 years. The next optimal window after 2026 doesn't open until early 2029. That's why SpaceX is pushing so hard. In late 2026, between early November and mid-December, Earth and Mars will be positioned perfectly. A spacecraft launched during this window can reach Mars in about 6 to 7 months using a Hohmann transfer orbit. Any later, and the fuel requirements skyrocket. Elon Musk has been unusually honest about the risk. He's said the odds of making the 2026 window are around 50%. Not because the idea is flawed, but because one massive technical hurdle still stands in the way: orbital refueling. Starship cannot go to Mars directly from Earth. It's too heavy, and the energy requirements are too high. Instead, SpaceX plans to launch Starship into low Earth orbit, then refill its tanks using multiple tanker Starships. Each tanker can deliver roughly 100 to 150 tons of liquid methane and liquid oxygen. Engineers estimate that a Mars-bound Starship will need between 6 and 10 tanker launches to fully refuel. That means a single Mars mission could require up to a dozen launches in total. No one has ever done this before. SpaceX successfully demonstrated cryogenic propellant transfer in orbit in 2023, but that was on a smaller scale. Doing it repeatedly, reliably, and at Starship scale is a completely different challenge. If orbital refueling doesn't work, the Mars mission doesn't happen. It's that simple. But SpaceX isn't planning to send just one Starship. During the 2026 window, the company hopes to launch multiple uncrewed Starships toward Mars, possibly between 2 and 5. These missions are not about colonization yet. They are about survival and validation. Can Starship handle months in deep space? Can its heat shield survive Mars entry? Can it land precisely on a hostile planet? Landing in particular is the hardest part. Mars is unforgiving. Its atmosphere is thick enough to cause brutal heating during entry, but too thin to slow down heavy spacecraft with parachutes alone. NASA's largest Mars landers weighed about 1 ton and required insanely complex sky crane systems. Starship will weigh over 100 tons. SpaceX's solution is bold and risky. Atmospheric entry followed by powered descent. Starship will slam into the Martian atmosphere belly first at around 7.5 kilometers per second. Its ceramic heat shield must survive temperatures exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius. Then, in the final moments, the spacecraft will flip upright and ignite its engines to land vertically. No spacecraft this massive has ever attempted anything like this. And where it lands is just as important as how. SpaceX has focused on a region called Arcadia Planitia. It's not famous, it's not dramatic. But beneath its surface lies one of Mars's most valuable resources, water ice, buried just 1 to 3 meters underground. That changes everything. Water isn't just for drinking, it's oxygen, it's agriculture, and most importantly, it's fuel. Using the Sabatier reaction, hydrogen from water can be combined with carbon dioxide from the Martian atmosphere to produce methane and oxygen, the exact propellant Starship uses. If SpaceX can make fuel on Mars, the planet stops being a dead end. And that's where this stops being just a mission and starts looking like a future. That idea, making fuel on another planet, is the single line that separates science fiction from something real. Because once a spacecraft can land, refuel, and leave again, Mars stops being a one-way destination. It becomes a place you can go to, work on, and come back from. And that is exactly what SpaceX is trying to prove with these first uncrewed Starship missions. If even one Starship successfully lands in 2026, it will be the most important Mars landing in history. Not because it carries humans, but because it proves scale. Everything about Mars exploration until now has been about doing more with less. Smaller probes, lighter rovers, thinner margins. Starship flips that philosophy on its head. It's about brute capability. Overbuild the system. Carry more mass than you think you'll ever need. Accept early failures in exchange for long-term dominance. That mindset is very different from how traditional space agencies operate. NASA, for example, designs missions to avoid failure at almost any cost. Hardware is tested endlessly. Schedules stretch. Budgets balloon. The result is incredible reliability, but extremely slow progress. SpaceX takes the opposite approach. Build fast, fly early, learn from what breaks, fix it, fly again. That's why Starship tests sometimes look messy. Explosions aren't setbacks, they're data points. And those data points are adding up fast. By the time the 2026 Mars window opens, SpaceX expects Starship to be flying regularly to orbit, deploying satellites, and supporting NASA's Artemis lunar missions. The same vehicle meant to land astronauts on the Moon is the one headed to Mars. That overlap is intentional. Every lunar mission improves the Mars system. Every refueling test in Earth orbit reduces risk for interplanetary flight. Still, the road to Mars is filled with unknowns. Deep space radiation is one of them. Unlike missions to the Moon, which remain within Earth's protective magnetic field for much of the journey, a Mars-bound Starship will be exposed to cosmic radiation for months. For uncrewed missions, that's manageable. For humans, it's a major concern. SpaceX plans to use water, cargo, and fuel as partial radiation shielding, but long-term solutions are still being studied. Then there's reliability over time. A 6 to 7 month cruise sounds short, but space is brutal. Electronics degrade, micrometeoroids strike, thermal cycles stress materials. A Starship sent to Mars has to survive half a year with no maintenance, no rescue options, and no margin for serious failure. That's another reason SpaceX wants to send multiple vehicles. Redundancy isn't just smart, it's essential. One Starship might fail during entry, another might tip over on landing, a third might work perfectly. Each outcome teaches SpaceX something critical before humans are ever involved, and yes, humans are the end goal. SpaceX doesn't hide that. Elon Musk has repeatedly said that the 2026 missions are stepping stones toward crewed flights, potentially as early as the 2028 or 2029 window. That timeline sounds aggressive, almost reckless, but it follows a clear logic. If Starship can land cargo safely, the next step is landing life support systems, then habitats, then return fuel plants. Only after those systems are proven would people follow. This approach mirrors how Antarctica was explored. First came supply depots, then research stations, then permanent crews. Mars, in SpaceX's vision, isn't conquered in one heroic leap. It's built up piece by piece. And cost is what makes this vision even remotely plausible. Traditional Mars missions cost billions of dollars per launch. Starship is designed to cost a fraction of that once fully operational. SpaceX has suggested that a single launch could eventually cost under $10 million. Even if early Mars flights cost 5 times that, it's still revolutionary. Compare that to NASA's Space Launch System. Each SLS launch costs between $2 and $2.5 billion, and the rocket is thrown away after one use. Starship is designed to fly again and again. If SpaceX achieves airline-like reuse, Mars stops being a prestige mission and starts becoming a logistics problem. And logistics can be solved. That's why Musk talks about scale so often. A self-sustaining city on Mars doesn't happen with one rocket or one mission. It happens with hundreds, then thousands of launches over decades. Starship is the only system currently designed with that scale in mind. Critics argue that this vision is unrealistic. Mars is cold, dry, hostile. Radiation levels are high. Gravity is low. There's no breathable air, no global magnetic field, no easy way home. All of that is true. But SpaceX's counterargument is simple. Earth is fragile too. A single-planet civilization is vulnerable. Asteroids, pandemics, climate collapse, nuclear war. None of these are hypothetical risks. Musk believes, rightly or wrongly, that spreading humanity across multiple planets is a form of insurance. Mars doesn't have to be easy. It just has to be possible. And the 2026 Starship mission is about answering one core question. Is Mars possible with the technology we have right now? If the answer is yes, everything changes. Governments will follow. Private companies will invest. Research institutions will plan permanent facilities. What starts as a handful of uncrewed Starships could turn into a continuous stream of cargo, then people, then infrastructure. If the answer is no, SpaceX will regroup, redesign, and try again in 2029. That's the difference between SpaceX and everyone else. Failure isn't the end of the story, it's just part of the timeline. So when SpaceX says Starship is going to Mars in 2026, they aren't promising perfection. They're promising an attempt, a serious one, backed by hardware, testing, and a launch system already rewriting spaceflight history. Whether Starship lands perfectly, crashes spectacularly, or does something in between, one thing is certain. The moment those engines fire toward Mars, humanity crosses a psychological threshold. For the first time, another planet won't feel unreachable. It will feel close, and that might be the most important step of all.